Welcome to Love is in the Air. Is transitioning from a carnivorous to a vegetarian really that difficult? So let's hear from Brother Vincent today. Brother Vincent, you have been a vegetarian for almost 6 years now. Can you go back to 6 years ago when you told your family your decision to be vegetarian? How did they react to your decision?
No, I think initially they are skeptical. So they say, oh, yeah, you should try 1 month and see. And I think they think I'm not serious, that I will give up after maybe a month or so. But as many people know, I've stuck to it. And I'm now a vegetarian for, well, this month is 6 years already.
So do you miss any of the fishes, the meat, or any of your favorite food?
No, I don't really, because now I think I've got a chef that localizes, all the favorite food that I like to eat. For example, I like to eat curry, so I can have curry like the old dishes that I eat, except instead of meat, instead of chicken or lamb, we have a white mushroom is like chicken. So they use a different brown mushroom, looks like lamb, looks like rendang lamb. So I don't really miss, and I also know it is good for me. It is healthier. Like I always say, physically better, spiritually better, and I believe it will lead to longer life for us, being a vegetarian.
So we just need to be very innovative in cooking our food, and preserve the vitamins, the minerals, as well as the sweetness of vegetables. Is any one of your family member a vegetarian?
Granddaughter of mine, she's 16 years old now. She's a vegan for many years, so she's the only one. None of my children are vegetarian, and in fact, my children joke that you became a vegetarian at 63. When we get there, we'll be a vegetarian. Long time more.
Yeah, but are they following what you're eating, especially when you dine in?
Yeah, I think, often I take them to a vegetarian restaurant, and of course, then they have to eat vegetarian. And then sometimes when I eat with them with their own normal non-vegetarian food, I will order my vegetarian food. I order a bit more so that they can share. For example, you can order veg or salad without the seafood, without any meat, then all can share. So I think the fact that I'm a vegetarian, also they have increased their intake of vegetarian food too. So in a way, they eat more vegetarian because I'm a vegetarian. So I think like many things in life, leadership by example is important. So because I'm a vegetarian, they are not 100% vegetarian, but I think they will be about 10, 15, 20% vegetarian. So that's a good start.
That's correct. Every little meal counts.
Yeah.
If we can cut off meat for a meal, then we actually save a life.
Tricia, when
Yes.
Daddy decided to turn vegetarian, what was your immediate reaction to his decision?
Oh wow, so I thought, okay, great, but please don't make us do it.
Did you believe that he would persist?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, my dad is always quite a persistent person. So when he tells us he wants to do it, I believe he would do it. But I was just thinking, oh my gosh, he's gonna make everyone around him do it. So, well, that really came true. So every time we have dinners, he'll tell us, oh my gosh, please don't have meat. It's really bad for you and also for the environment. So he always tells us to be vegetarian. Well, hopefully one day we'll get there. Not now, I guess. Perhaps when I'm around his age, I will try to be vegetarian.
Has Daddy changed your perception towards vegetarianism?
Well, maybe I'm not so ready to be vegetarian yet, but when we go to dinners, because he has to have vegetarian, right? So we do try to accommodate, and there are days that we'll have vegetarian food with him, and it's actually not too bad. Yeah, it's about, just getting used to it, and it's just about adapting.
Brother Vincent, is there any specific occasion that you will be very insistent of them that they have got to be 100% vegetarian for that day or for that meal?
Oh yeah, I mean, if they want to they want to host me, say, oh, today is your birthday or special day. Then I say, special day, let's all go to a vegetarian restaurant. Or the meal we can buy back, but all must be vegetarian. Then they are okay with it, no problem. Yeah. I think, like I say, there are a lot of vegetarian dishes that are delicious. They can sort of replicate the dishes they like. Maybe not exactly same taste, but quite close to it. And most of them are okay. In fact, for example, since I become a vegetarian, after a couple of months, I decided to try to host all my guests a vegetarian meal. And I find that after so long, I have no problem at all hosting my guests vegetarian meal, unless unless some insist that if you don't mind, they like to eat this. But most of the time, our guests are gracious, they are being polite. And they say, oh, you are the host. Whatever you host, we will eat. Don't worry. And in fact, I have many instances of guests who say, oh, I didn't know vegetarian tastes so good. It tastes like the real stuff. You serve us rendang lamb. It really tastes like rendang lamb. The curry you serve with the white mushroom really looks like a chicken curry. So I think because of that, I think I have, in a way, by not hosting, by not serving any meat to our guests, I think more people have a chance, and in the process, we both, the host and the guest, have saved some, we saved some animals,
So you've
some
created
living beings.
lots of blessing that
Yeah,
way.
I think indirectly they are also blessed that they eat vegetarian when they dine with me.
So if you don't serve, then nobody will eat meat.
Exactly.
Right?
So I think all of us, if we are vegetarian, we don't serve, and our guests will accept it. There'll be very, very rare that guests will say, oh, no, I'm not eating, you have to serve me meat. Most people are polite and gracious, and they won't insist. And also, if we do business, they are our business associate, and if we are the host, they would accept. Business people are all very easy. It's only when they want to have fun with their friends, among all of them gathered together, non-vegetarian, like I say, they will drink liquor, they will eat meat and all this. And I've gone to some of this occasion, and I say, oh, okay, I'll join you guys, but I'm eating vegetarian, and I don't drink with you guys. So that people are quite all right. So after a while, I think they don't want to invite me anymore.
But I think, Brother Vincent, you touched on a point. I think, a lot of people actually have the wrong perspective about vegetarian diet. They think that it is just green vegetables, and by serving them different kind of a healthy cooking, it actually exposes them to what vegetarian diet really means, right? And the health benefits.
Yeah.
So did anybody come back and tell you that it was good and it has helped them? Have you convinced any one of your friends to be vegetarian?
Yeah, I think I have. In fact, some of my colleagues that have to meet me often, some of them, a few of them have become vegetarian. And then one of them have also convinced their family to be vegetarian. And generally, most of them say, oh, the vegetarian food that we serve is appetizing, it's good. They didn't know vegetarian food can be so delicious. They're always under the impression that vegetarian food means lots of salad, fruits, maybe a bit of nuts, But we say, we can serve nice cooked food to replicate the food that you like, the curry that you like. We can, for example, you can even serve a tom yum soup, but vegetarian. No prawns, no seafood in it.
That's true. And often when you travel, do you find it actually difficult to adhere to the vegetarian diet?
Well, it's not difficult, a bit of inconvenient. For example, I've got this experience in Japan. You see, in Japan, they have a lot of nice restaurants. My family members, they like to go to, nice Japanese sushi, where they just have only 10 or 12 seats. So every seat is worth, they will take a fixed price, So like, for example, it's about 800 ringgit or 1,000 ringgit. So I told my family, what am I going to do? I sit there and pay 800 ringgit, 1,000 ringgit for vegetarian. I think it's very expensive. They say, oh, come on, Dad, never mind, just to eat together. So I went, and then I was so they would serve me vegetarian food, salad and this. I don't know, they'll try, they arrange some vegetarian food. And So I told my daughter, hey, talk to them, ask them to give me 20-30% discount. You guys are eating abalone, all the nice expensive stuff. I'm eating cheap stuff.
Tofu, right? Tofu.
Yeah, lots of tofu. And so I said, so quite a few of them does, because you ask, they give you the discount, but some don't. But the most interesting one is there was an occasion that we have to eat together. I told my daughter, hey, can you call the restaurant and say, my dad is a vegetarian and he insists. My dad insists he wants to bring his own food. So they agreed. They said, okay, your dad can bring his own food. We won't charge him. We'll give him a seat. Now, so I went to 7-Eleven and bought all the, bought salad, bought different. In 7-Eleven, Japan itself, you can get all the vegetarian food that I need. So I bought all of them and brought it there. So I thought I'm going to just put on the dining table and they'll just eat, They'll just provide me forks and spoon and I'll just eat it. No. What they did is said, oh, give it all to us. And then they serve it nicely, plate, decorate it nicely. I said, oh, that's very impressive. And what is impressive, they don't even charge me for doing all that. But of course, there's 7-8 of us all together. They charge the others. So I thought that was very interesting. And that is one dining experience that I remember. So I buy cheap food from 7-Eleven. I go to an expensive restaurant and they brought it inside, and when they come out, it looks like nice, expensive food.
So that is a very nice experience.
Yeah, nice
so
experience. And I think the owner of the restaurant was very gracious to allow that.
That's right. So as long as we have the willpower, we can sustain.
So I think, like I said, it is not difficult. It's a bit of inconvenience, but you can get vegetarian anywhere in the world. In fact, if you go to a European country or what I call the Caucasian country, plenty of vegetarian restaurants. Every restaurant you go, they have a vegetarian option. So it is no longer difficult to be a vegetarian. If anyone says it's difficult, it's just an excuse. Just an excuse not to be a vegetarian, not to eat vegetarian food. So absolutely no problem at all. After these 6 years, I traveled to many places, never an issue. You can get vegetarian food, nice food too, anywhere in the world now.
Often we also hear people talk about the negatives about vegetarian diet. First of all, not enough protein or insufficient of B12. What is your view on that?
No, I think there is some concern about that, but that's no problem because we take supplements. Even before when I was a non-vegetarian, I also take supplements. We're not sure that we get enough from our food that we eat. Because sometimes we like certain food, we keep eating the same food. We may not get the right balance of nutrients. So we all have supplements. I have supplements when I was a non-vegetarian. So I also have about the same supplement and I add on a bit, maybe more B12 and other supplements that is suitable for vegetarian. So absolutely no problem. Like I said, I said, that some men think that you must eat meat, you must eat seafood so that you'll be more mentally. No, I don't think so. That's a misconception. I think to be mentally, you need to be healthy. You need to exercise and keep yourself healthy. I think that is more important to be mentally. If you have a big tummy, you eat all the good food, how can you be mentally?
Yes, touching about being healthy.
Yeah.
Brother Vincent, what do you do for exercise?
I swim, I snorkel, I go scuba diving. I don't play golf. I don't play golf at all, although we own several golf courses. And one of the exercises that I've done is yoga. And I think one of our brother Lim Vichai, he learns yoga, and he told me also yoga is very good, and I heard from many people. So about 3 years ago, I started yoga for only 3 months, and I stopped. But 4 months ago, I've started again yoga. And every time now, I have a young instructor. She's a Malay. Everybody thought yoga teacher must be Indian, Chinese, no. She's a Malay, and she teaches me yoga. She's very good. And every time she insists I must do headstand. So I've been doing headstand, and I can do headstand. So headstand at 69 she also said, not bad, not bad. At 69, I'm 69 years old. You do headstand, it's quite good.
So how
I can show you the photo of my headstand.
Oh yeah, we should show everybody. find, yoga in terms of benefiting you mentally and physically?
No, I think yoga is very good. There's a lot of stretches. Sometimes there are certain stretches we don't stretch our body enough, so we have all kinds of pain that actually yoga can teach you, and you will have less injuries when we stretch ourselves well. So I think yoga is very good in that, and I just now that I understand yoga better because I've done it for I do it on off, but this time I decided I'm going to continue and not going to. It's going to be like my vegetarian diet. I'm going to keep it for a long time. I believe eventually, if progress another few more years, it'll be excellent for me. I think I'll be very healthy. And then, vegetarian diet, yoga, exercise, swimming, and no liquor, no cigarettes. I think I should be a very healthy person.
That is good. Personally, I've been doing yoga for almost 20 years now. And I think apart from, stretches, it actually helps in balancing physically as well as mentally.
Yeah, sure. No, what we saw here, there are a lot of nets here. The net cover the corals, it will kill the corals. So since it's sandy, it's okay because the fishes like to play around it.
Brother Vincent, what are the key benefits that you experience after you change your diet from meat eating to become a vegetarian in terms of physically as well as psychologically?
I think health-wise, it is definitely better digestion. Eating a lot of plant proteins, is eating all kinds of vegetables, fruits, beans, nuts, a lot of mushroom. So digestion is certainly much better than those days that I eat meat, eating chicken and other meat. So definitely digestion is better. We all know that if you have better digestion, you have better health. So I think I feel much better. And then also I have a skin disease. I suffered from psoriasis for many years. And I think it is much better. Of course, I'm still under some treatment, but then I think it is much better because now I think I ingest less toxin from, there's less toxin, there's definitely very little toxin from plant protein compared to animal products and sea products. We all know fishes also has got mercury, So I think it is definitely physically much healthier. And I also believe that if we become a vegetarian, we can add more years to our life. We can live longer. Maybe we'll live 8 to 10 years more. That's what most people say. And then the other thing is I feel psychologically and spiritually better. Nowadays, after being a vegetarian, I pray. I feel that I have just very, very good feeling that, I do meditate a bit and you get very good feelings and sometimes I close my eye, I think I can see good things. So I find spiritually is much better. I think it's very difficult to describe how is this better spiritually until one become a vegetarian for many years. So of course, I'm confirmed I'm a lifelong vegetarian. I don't think anyone can convert me to a non-veg now. So I feel physically and spiritually much healthier.
How long did it take before you experienced this improvement?
I think I would say maybe after a year or two, but of course I feel it much, much more now. And I really, now I truly believe that vegetarianism is good.
Christian, have you noticed any major changes in him, like his temperament, for example?
Yeah, I think I really just realized he's a lot more compassionate and kind to, not just people around us, but also to animals, even kinder to the environment. When we go to resorts, our own resorts, he'll actually walk himself around the beach to pick up rubbish. He just wants to give back to society and to environment and to just make our Earth a better place.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
One more 9.
9. So we have 9 bags. So you see, if it's in the sea slowly,
Yeah.
it melt, it dissolves. Then it becomes microplastic. The fish eat it. They die. When all the fishes are gone, the ocean will be dead, and it will kill Mother Earth also. So we need to save the sea, save the ocean. And then of course, if we see things that what is going on in the world, I think Master is right. People should be vegetarian. Look at, I've watched this documentary. I'm sure some of us have watched this documentary called Cowspiracy. And then the other one is called Seaspiracy. If you watch these two movies, I think you'll feel these two documentaries, you feel very guilty eating seafood and eating beef. They show that rearing cattle is a major cause of global warming, one of the big causes of global warming. And look at what that eating fishes has done to the sea. I believe that if the sea dies, all the sea creatures in the sea die and depleted, I think if the sea die, I think it will hurt all of us on earth too. So I believe that to be a vegetarian, we are a very credible environmentalist. I met environmentalists who talk a lot about how much they want to protect the environment, and they are not vegetarian. So I say, how can you be an environmentalist if you are not a vegetarian? I think a vegetarian helps the environment a lot. So as a first step, you guys must be a vegetarian. Then only you'll be a credible environmentalist. So I am an environmentalist because when I go diving, I pick up rubbish in the sea. I cut out nets that, fishermen are quite irresponsible. They throw their old fishing net into the sea. They don't want to take it to mainland to bury it or throw it away. The net actually covers and kills corals. So when we dive, we bring knives, we bring a big scissors to cut net and bring the net out. In fact, we have a lot of net that we cut out. So this is an environmentalist, and I go to beaches around like islands to clean the beaches because all the beach in every part of the world is full of plastic, full of rubbish that's been thrown by people into the sea. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Save the sea!
Now, I want to ask you this other question. I can see that you're a very keen diver. So do you feel the before and after effect when you go near the sea creatures like the sharks? Do they now come to you without fearing that you're going to eat them?
No, but sharks when they see us, they all run away. But I must say that, like recently I had the experience of swimming with a whale shark. But whale sharks are very friendly. They are not afraid of human beings. And we are so happy that this happens in Redang Island. We were out and we saw a whale shark and I quickly jumped down and swim with the whale shark. So I think maybe psychologically the whale shark I think sharks and sea creatures can sense that I'm a vegetarian, so friendly.
Has it also raised your awareness about the environment, not just about the sea? I understand that, you pick up rubbish from the sea whenever you dive. But what about, the bigger environment itself?
No, I think, like I said, I think being a vegetarian is a big testimony of being that you are an environmentalist, I think vegetarian, the fact that we don't eat seafood, we don't eat beef and animals products, it is already a very good thing. We know that global warming, methane gas, is created by cattle rearing. And cattle rearing takes a lot of land, takes a lot of water. So this is all no good for the earth today. So we appeal to more people to become vegetarians so that we can together make the world a better place for all of us to live, for our children, for our grandchildren. So being a vegetarian is very, very important.
Yes, indeed, brother. All lives are precious. Being a vegetarian is a practice of equality in treating all lives. not only we must not kill, in fact, we must protect lives. And this is what we are teaching in Tzu Chi International School, in how we teach our students to have self-respect, self-love, and self-worth. That they have got to treat other beings equally in order to have trust and to gain respect from others.
Yeah.
So what you've just said resonate very well with all of us. Let's come back to the impact of being a vegetarian. Has that improved your temperament?
Yeah, I think I'm
Maybe
better.
I should ask your wife and your family.
No, I think I do, and of course I'm also aging. You know, I'm now 69 years old. As we grow older, we become we're less temperamental. But being a vegetarian definitely helps a lot, and we develop more compassion and more understanding of other people's problems. So we are more helpful. I think as a vegetarian, I think we are kinder, we are more compassionate. We try to be more helpful. So I think yes, that it has affected me.
So the family is very supportive of Daddy turning vegetarian and joining Tzu Chi as a faith cult.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yes, we accumulate all this wealth and all that, but when we see so many poor and, like stateless people around, like kids without food, without families, I think it's only right for us to give back to society.
That's good. You have joined many Tzu Chi activities. What are the most memorable and impactful activities that you have joined?
I remember in, I think, end of 2018, we actually went to Syria.
Turkey.
So we actually went to Turkey, and I mean, it's to actually meet the Syrian refugees, to see how they live and all that, and we feel, wow, it's really time to help all these people. So we actually, gave them food, met them, we even sang and played with the kids. I think it was really a great memory for us.
You visited the school, the manoeuvre.
Yes.
There were 3,000 refugees
Yes.
there.
Very
did
impressive.
you see that they were angry, they were hateful?
No, they really weren't,
They were very,
They were actually very happy
Happy.
that we were there to see them, to be with them. So they don't feel like, they probably have very little, but they're very, very satisfied with their life. They're just so contented, which is a very great value because we should all be very contented with our lives. And also, and closer to home, we actually went to Sabah as well.
Tawau.
In Tawau, exactly. Well, there were so many stateless kids, and we saw their living condition. They literally were living next to a rubbish dump. It really breaks my heart to see how these people are living, and I feel that we should all play a part and help these people whenever we can. No matter how small, no matter how big, I think any form of help is, very important to them. Collectively, I feel like we can do a lot more for, the poor people, for the stateless kids, for the elderly. I guess wherever we can offer help, we will.
We have heard from Brother Vincent how a change to vegetarian diet has benefited him physically, mentally, and spiritually. He spoke compassionately about not killing, about protecting lives and the environment. In our next episode of Love is in the Air, we will hear from Brother Vincent how he actually practices environmental protection and how vegetarianism has influenced his business decisions. See you on our next episode of Love is in the Air.